Hello and welcome to Mo Sports. We're coming to you live on channel 150 on your OpenView decoded Super TV powered by Super Bets. Now, alternative means of checking us out is either going through Facebook or on YouTube. Now, I'm very excited for today because today is the 11th of June. 11th of June. I have to pause because I can't quite believe it because we are so close. In fact, the kickoff, we're hours away from the kickoff of the Euro 2020. But OB.KNOWS will talk to us about that in more detail. For now, let me give you the Mo riddle. Starting off with reading of the Mo riddle. I feel like this is a whole event. Let's go for it. It says, I'm an Argentine international who played 72 games for the national team. I played in the Argentine Olympic squad that won gold in 2004. I've played for PSG, Manchester United, Real Madrid, and Roma. Who am I? Well, if you have the answer for that one, the number is 071 621 4746. Let's test your footballing knowledge. And don't forget, while you're on your phone, don't forget to SMS Super TV to 30978. OB.KNOWS, what should the people expect on today's show?
Well, Mo, on today's show, we are looking forward to talking about Bafana finally getting that win under the new management. Of course, Helman Mkhitaryan was on the helm, and we'll be talking a little bit about that. Also, Euro kicks off, as Mo did say. It is the 11th of June, the big day we've all been waiting for. Also, we are celebrating the anniversary of that FIFA 2010 World Cup goal, the first one, remember, from Shaba. We also celebrated that. But we'll also be taking a look at the international friendlies that have been going on around the world. And let's kick it off, of course, with talking about Bafana. Let's kick it with the international match day.
Welcome back. Now, kicking it off with Bafana, as we usually have to do, kicking off local footballs where we add. We're talking about Bafana because not only did they play a game against Uganda, but they won this game. And not only did they win this game, there's a brace in this game, there's 3 goals that have been scored, and not only that, they did manage to outscore the other team. OB.KNOWS, let's talk about Bafana. We're proud.
Surprising, eh? Like, it's so refreshing to speak about Bafana in a good light. You know what I mean? Like, I'm impressed. I'm really impressed. I mean, the squad selection, firstly, is what I was impressed about because there were youngsters in there. Of course, I had my quarrels with some of the players that are missing in there, the likes of Boluka Singh. And I also complained about Njabulo Ngobo not being added in the squad, but eventually he was, after picking up that award of Defender of the Season, was added into, the national team as well. So I'm impressed to see the youngsters, coming out and, expressing themselves in a very good way and also winning the game. The most important, like, we didn't care how we got it. Even if it was 1-0, that's fine. As long as it was just a win. And I'm pretty sure everyone is happy about the win.
Well, everybody is happy, but nobody's more happier out there than the Makgopa family because Evidence made sure that he put 2 behind Uganda to make it a whole 3-2 win for us. So, talking about the player, are we excited to see a talent like him on the stage, in the international stage?
I think I wasn't looking forward to it, to be honest. Despite him, he's a very young player, and you expect a young player at the highest stage to obviously, be a bit shaken by the occasion, So I think he coming off the bench, he was, of course, expected to get the goal because we were behind, and coming off the bench. I think also we need to give credit to Helman Mkhitaryan for seeing that, we actually need an out-and-out striker in this game because we didn't start with one. So I'll give credit to the coach firstly, but with Evidence Makgopa coming on to get the 2 goals, I mean, one of the goals is, he had to turn and take a shot. And I think if it was any other striker, he would have wanted to turn once again, but because he went out wide already, he decided, I'm going to take a shot and take it right across the goalkeeper. And that's the quality we don't see much of in the PSL, but I'm so glad that he brought it into the international stage.
I mean, in the space of 5 minutes, South Africa went from a 1-0 deficit to a 2-1 deficit. I mean, Hlongwane getting that second goal in the 67th minute
as well.
And, I mean, when you talk about that kind of stuff, that intensity, we don't see it much with Bafana. They're usually either trailing for too long or waiting. But in the space of 5 minutes, OB.KNOWS, what was different in that 5 minutes?
Well, I think one thing that was very different was the way the squad lined up. First and foremost, because if you look in the first half, it was a 3-4-3 formation. Of course, he was moving forward with Hlongwane. He had Maboe in there and Mkhulisa in there. And one thing he did very well, the coach was noticing that Mkhulisa was not so effective on the flank. So let's bring him more centrally. And once he brought him more central, also Maboe decided to play a little bit more centrally. Look at one of the goals, the goal actually that I was talking about of Evidence Makgopa. Maboe had to carry that ball from the wide side of the field into the final third, and eventually got the pass into Makgopa for him to be able to make that turn and score. So I think one thing that the coach did realize was that we don't really need to be trying to pile in with the crosses from the wing backs. Rather, let's go at Uganda because they're not so great on their feet. They are more physical, but they're not so great when it comes to playing the ball on the feet. So let's go at them, through the middle, and that's exactly what we did different in that second half, and that's how we managed to get some of these goals that we got.
Another Another young talent that made his name on the stage was a young Ethan Brooks, and he had a great performance in the middle of the park. So I want to hear more about it because I saw the game, but I want to hear OB.KNOWS' perspective on this young player.
I think you know, it's a surprising, it was a surprising addition to the squad. I mean, he was already on the nominations for
On the
the
radar,
young player of the season. You know, and unfortunately went to Evidence Mahopa. But you know, he showed that at a bigger stage, at the class. You know, I mean, we've seen him playing. Like that's one big problem I've had with the national team is that we don't carry through the youngsters and take them into, you know, the senior team. And this time around, you know, it happened with Ethan Brooks. I mean, he's been performing at the under 20, under 23 level, and they decided, you know, let's bring him into the first team, and he impressed. I mean, he was so stable in that midfield. He didn't look like he was going to be shaken off, and I like the fact that there was Denwin Farmer in that midfield. There was also Ethan Brooks, two youngsters who are performing for not Pirates, not Chiefs, but for Paroka and TS Galaxy, and they're in the national team. And they got the win. So I'm very impressed by both of their performances.
I'm impressed, but I fear for TS Galaxy. I mean, this young man is now playing international football. That means, I mean, when you play football at a local level, I mean, at a national level, you have national eyes, maybe continental eyes looking at you. But once you get to a Bafana jersey, I mean, the whole world watches you. I don't think Bafana in the context of world football is a small side. I mean, these are the champions of 1996. These are the same team that beat France in the 2010 opener game. So people will definitely see this player. And don't you think that now that he's played at this level, now a lot of offers might be coming, especially with the transfer window now open?
Well, I don't think anyone will be trying to snatch him up. I mean, I think for any club, they'll be looking at it and be like, okay, maybe we should give him another season, because it was his breakout season in the PSL this season. So I do think that they might just want to see maybe a little bit more from him, which I would not, you know, be against. I'm actually for that. You know, let him rest, let him play at TS Galaxy, because they just, you know, had a brilliant season coming from the NFD. So let's see what else he can give us. I mean, maybe it was just, you know, a good season, you know, the one season wonder.
I don't think it is.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you don't want to be splashing out a lot of money on such uncertainties. Rather give him another season. Let's see what he can do, and then we take it from there.
I mean, young talents like this need to be celebrated, and they need to be rewarded for their great performances. So, OB.KNOWS, I think it's about time we went to the website, because I know that you want to talk about the friendlies that we have coming up later on in the year with Bafana. I mean, we need to know who they're playing against, who they're going to be facing. And you think that at this moment in time, from what we saw against Uganda, is this a team that we can definitely put our names into the hats of the World Cup?
I think Uganda are the different outfit to what we're going to face in the World Cup, in the World Cup qualifiers. So I wouldn't really take this result, you know, to head and say, now we are ready to beat the Zimbabwe's and the Ghanas. You know, I do think it's going to be very tough for us, you know, in that World Cup qualifier. But, you know, at least now there's a bit of confidence in the team. You know, you feel like, okay, these youngsters, they're doing something. Maybe we should support them a little bit more. Because if you get the wins, of course we're going to support. So I do think that we don't stand a chance, but we can now look up and say, you know what, we can go into these qualifiers, and whatever we get, let's see what we can get.
Well, OB.KNOWS, I hope that you get a little bit more inspiration as we go through look at where Bafana
No, the other
play
question
next.
more would be, because you remember there was friendlies before the AFCON qualifiers.
Yes.
And in those friendlies against Namibia and Zambia, we played a completely different squad to what we played when we played in the qualifiers, you know. So maybe this is the last time we're seeing this, you know, a crop of players playing together. So it would really be up to the coaches to prove to us that this is how they're trying to go. They're trying to build a young squad, you know, and to get them experience. And, you know, I hope that's what we're trying to go with, because what happened with Mulifi Ntseki with that Zambia and Namibia game and coming into the qualifiers, a completely different change of squad. You don't build a team like that, you know. You have to come with players that, you know, they did well in this game. Let's take them into the next game. Let's take them to the following game and see if we can build a team. But if they don't do that, I really fear for us in those qualifiers.
What OB.KNOWS is talking about is called consistency, and that's what he's looking for in terms of what's happening in the national side. He wants to see more players getting more caps, getting more familiar with each other. The same way when you look at France from just a couple of seasons ago, they still have that Pogba in the midfield. They still have Griezmann playing up front. They still have Kylian Mbappe playing down the left-hand side. So it's a team that these players know that come their next international tournament, come the next international friendlies, a few faces might change. There might not be a Sissoko, but we have an N'Golo Kante. So that's what OB.KNOWS is saying. I mean, it's a good thing that they're taking them young now and starting to realize that it's not about the next 5 matches, it's about the next decade. What are we building? I mean, Ronaldo at this point in time, 175 appearances. This is his 5th Euro. It says a lot about the kind of consistency that we see around the world. Let's go back to the website. Let's go see basically who Bafana will be facing next. OB.KNOWS, you ready for this?
I'm ready.
He's ready. Let's go to the website. Let's scroll through and go look at South Africa. So we're going to go to match info. We're going to go to soccer once it opens up. Let's go look at internationals. And then let's go scroll down and look for CAF.
We're going to look for World Cup qualifiers.
World Cup qualifiers. Let's go. World Cup qualifiers, CAF. And then let's go look for our country, South Africa. And what we'll do is just...
Seems like they still haven't loaded that.
They still haven't loaded us, eh? Oh my goodness. And we're still talking about this till today.
2019.
But 2019, we haven't loaded South Africa. But it's fine. We can take a look here and tell you where they'll be going next. They'll be facing Zimbabwe on the 1st of September. And then on the 5th, they'll be facing Ghana. Are you worried about Bafana?
I'm worried. I won't lie, because the last time Ghana came here, they came with a weakened squad, but they still managed to get one over us, you know. And I do worry because, you know, with the team that we have, I mean, we have the talents. We have the talent. That was one thing that Helman Kelele did say, is that we have the talents, but mentally, when it comes to performing at the biggest stage, we're not, you know, available, you know. So I'm just hoping that, you know, with this current crop of players we have, as young as they are, getting that win against Uganda, you know, to brush off, you know, to brush off the feeling of getting a win in the national team.
Yeah.
I do think that a bit of confidence will build them. Maybe they might just have a different mentality when playing against the bigger sides, such as Ghana, you know. So I'd like to see us step up in those games, and that would be obviously the difference maker.
All right, we might not be able to look at the Bafana squad, but we can look at the international friendlies that took place over this week. So let's go back to the website and let's go look at those results. So let's get in there. OB knows, how do we navigate? Do we go back to international?
International.
Back to international, then from there we go to friendlies. You can see a lot of tournaments are taking place. The AFC that's taking place in Asia, the Confederations Cup, World Cup Women, international friendly games is what we're looking for. And this is what's been happening right now live. That's a nice feature. You can watch Japan versus Serbia. And now let's look at the last matches. As you can see, South Africa took on Uganda. Just scroll down for us. As you can see, South Africa, the home side, picking up 3 goals and winning 3-2. And then as you can see, USA also winning against Costa Rica. Portugal beating Israel 4-0. Then there's the game that OB knows was talking about, the infamous game where Mbappe... Oh, I'm actually getting ahead of myself.
Yeah.
OB knows has not talked about this game. But this is the game where Mbappe literally apparently did not pass Giroud. And Giroud was like, oh, because that PSG, meaning say Chelsea, all right. And then there's Morocco also, and there's Senegal beating Cape Verde. The one trend I'm seeing here, all the international home sides have picked up the results, including Spain, Czech Republic also picked up a result. Hungary and Ireland playing out to a 0-0 draw. Gambia beating Togo 1-0. And let's scroll down just a few more days. Poland getting a 2-2 draw against Iceland. Iceland are the giant slayers of European football, and they've proven it once again, getting a 2-2 against Lewandowski. And there's Benin versus Zambia also ending in a 2-2 with Nigeria and Cameroon also ending in a goalless draw. Very disappointing result looking at the history that both these clubs hold in African football. Kosovo playing Guinea, almost Guinea, playing Guinea winning 2-1, and then there's that German game, 7-1, and everybody was saying that only one team has felt the pain that Latvia have felt against Germany, and that is Brazil. So let's get ready to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation by going to look at the competition of the hour, which is the Euro 2020.
You're locked into Super TV, only on OpenView, channel 150.
are watching Super TV, Open View, channel 150.
Welcome back to Mo Sports. Now, it's a very intriguing time in world football because the international competitions are now on. And the funny thing is that every year we're used to the year telling us which edition of the tournament it is. Well, it's the 2020 edition of the Euro, but it's taking place in 2021. Welcome back to Mo Sports. My name is Mo, and sitting across the table from me is our sports analyst, Mr. OB.KNOWS. And as usual, we're talking all things football. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's look at what the trivia has to say for today. So he's an Argentine international. He did win gold with them in 2004. That means internationally. And he did play for the following clubs: Manchester United, PSG, Roma, and Real Madrid, if I'm not mistaken. Now, that player is the player who is in our trivia for today. So if you have the answer to the Mo riddle, it's as easy as saving the following number. It's 071-621-4746. And once you save that magic number under your contacts, you can go on your WhatsApp and you can send us a lovely message with your answer. Don't forget, Argentine international, won gold in 2004. Not only that, he's played for Real Madrid, Manchester United, Roma, and Paris Saint-Germain. I don't know in what order, but that's the order I was given. Now, if you know the answer, that is the number, 071-621-4746. And while you're on your phone, don't forget to SMS Super TV to 30978. Now, let's move on and let's talk about the Euros. So now I was very intrigued to find out that the oldest player at this year's edition of the Euros, well, last year he would have been 37 years old, but this year he's 38 years old, and that's Martin Stekelenburg. And that's because Netherlands' first choice goalkeeper, he's out on COVID-19 because he tested positive. Yeah. But not only him, Busquets is also out. Ronaldo's making his 175th appearance.
That's a lot of appearances.
That was before the kickoff of the Euro.
Yeah.
So the last friendly they played, that was his 175th international appearance. Not only that, this is his 5th Euro.
That's a lot.
5th Euro.
That's a lot of euros.
That's a lot of Euros.
It's a lot of euros. And coming back to
not the currency, the tournament.
Yeah, the tournament. Let's be specific. Coming back to that Martin Stekelenburg situation, I mean, I think he's revived his career very well. I mean, he was the goalkeeper for Netherlands in that 2010 World Cup. Even, was the goalkeeper in the final
First choice,
as well.
he was the first choice. Yeah.
Over the years, he joined Everton and was second choice to Pickford, and eventually moving back to Ajax and getting game time, of course, because of Andre Onana's drug abuse or whatever the situation was, and he got banned for that. So I think the confidence has been picked up. I mean, I thought he was really down and out. I mean, he's about, like you said, he's about 38 years old. I mean, I thought, the confidence was a little bit out of him, and for him to be back in the national team, it really does, say a lot about the strides he's made to get his career back up to par.
But looking at the parallels, I remember when Edwin van der Sar went to Manchester United, a lot of people are saying he's past his prime. Yeah. Post Juventus,
but at least he was still playing for Fulham. He wasn't in the Premier League. So
but listen, when Vanessa went to Manchester United, everybody was saying, look, after Juventus he's done. I mean, why would Juventus have such a quality goalkeeper? And he went to United and went on to win a Champions League title. So you look at Martin Stekelenburg, and he was also the wrong side of 35 at that time when he won the Champions League title. Now you're looking at a Stekelenburg, same nationality, same national side. You might be thinking to yourself that his best years are yet to come. We saw it with Buffon as well. Buffon in his later years, towards those 38s, those 37s, you were starting to look, but okay, Stekelenburg, he didn't have a great career to start with. I mean, first and foremost, that's where we have to start. And then, funny enough, the youngest captain in the Euros, it's Scotland's
Kieran Tierney.
No.
Andrew Robertson.
Andrew Robertson.
Really?
At the age of 26, 27, he's the youngest captain in the Euro. So it's a little couple of facts that I wanted to share with you before we get into the business of looking at the promotions of the website. I mean, there's a lot that we have to go through before we actually talk about the Euros in detail. But I was very excited to see some of these numbers because I thought to myself, wow, when are we going to get to a point in our careers, and in fact in our careers, where we're going to see a South African have 200 caps, 150 caps for South Africa, 107 goals, chasing an international record. I mean, Ronaldo at this point is chasing an international record for the most goals scored by an international player. So when are we going to get to that as a South Africa? And when are we going to get to that as a continent? Because we don't play enough.
Keep Evidence Mahopa playing.
Keep Evidence Mahopa playing.
Keep that man playing, my guy. Keep that man playing. Keep Brooks playing in that midfield, and we might just, start breaking numbers. But you are correct by saying that we don't play a lot of games as a continent. We only play international friendlies and when there's AFCON, So looking at the fact that actually South America have their own, UEFA type of Nations League, I think we can also just do our own.
We must. It is a must.
But when we do that, then remember it's going to clash with the calendar Europe, so they might just be like, nah, guys.
No, we want to. Because remember when Sadio Mane came here to play a whole CAF and then Liverpool was winning the title, Liverpool went.
Which might happen come next season.
It might happen. But let's go to the website. Let's go see what's happening in terms of the Super Brew promotion that's running on the Super Bets website. Let's go straight to it. Let's go check it out. So when you arrive here on the website, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to that little banner there that says Instant Games, New and Improved. What we're going to do is we're going to click on the arrow and find the banner we're looking for. So we're going to look for my banner. No, wrong my banner. That my banner. Are we not looking for that my banner?
This my banner is when you press on it, it brings you back home.
Oh, that's the my banner that brings you back home.
Yes.
Let's go look for that right my banner again. But I would like that my banner is hot. You saw it there, Kane, all those names that are so important to this tournament. Let's go. No, that's the next one. Here it is. Let's see the fantasy, Super Brew fantasy. So I think fantasy, by reading the word fantasy, you must think to yourself that it involves just the players. But let's read it and see what it has to say. Hope you know, just scroll down. It says, join the Super Bets Euro Fantasy Pool on Super Brew and win big. So basically when you get on to Super Brew, there's different pools that are there. So the pool that we're talking about is that you have to search for Super Bets, find our pool, and then you enroll into it, and once you've enrolled into it, you can get access to this competition. So it says, as well as the usual predictor pool, which you have to click here to enter, you can also join our fantasy pool, where you will have the chance to select a fantasy team each round and strive for the coveted yellow cap. So let's scroll down. As you can see, what's on offer. For each round of the Euro matches on Super Brew, there will be 5,000 Rand up for grabs for the yellow cap winner. So I'm thinking that the players that give you the most points get you access and closer to winning this 5,000 Rand. Then it says, in order to qualify for that full bonus prize, you will need to have placed at least a bet of 20 Rand or more on Super Bets during that round of matches. So you have to basically, both platforms, you have to be active on both platforms. You are on Super Brew, you are making that fantasy side, but you have to be on Super Bets, also making a minimum bet of 20 bucks. So it says, if you haven't placed that qualifying bet, your prize will be reduced to 50 Rand. So you get the yellow cap, but because you haven't put the minimum bet down, you get yourself 50 bucks, which is 2 zeros gone. You have to make sure about it. You have to make sure. Because basically all we're saying is that we're going to put a decimal point right there in the center. And it goes from 5,000 Rand to 50 Rand. Let's see how to play. Sign up for a Super Brew account and join the pool by hitting this button below. So by hitting that button, it'll transfer you to Super Brew. OB knows, in fact, let's do that for our viewers that have never seen Super Brew before. Let's click on it. And then loading, there it is. So that's the pool. It's going to ask you to agree. Once you've agreed, this is where you join. So by clicking on join pool, then it's going to ask you to log in and do all the fancy stuff. Then once you've done all that fancy stuff, you are part of the Super Bets pool and you can start taking advantage of this promotion that we're running. Obi knows, are you a Super Brew customer?
I was at the beginning.
At the beginning.
Yeah, for me, my problem with Super Brew is how accurate you have to be. You know, like in terms of the score predictor, because there's this one and there's the score predictor. With the score predictor, you have to say, "Guti, Gemini gonna win 2-1,
4-1."
You know what I'm saying?
But you know what's the craziest thing about it? Once you get it right, there's no amount of words that we can explain how much confidence you get to go make a
from
bet.
just one.
Just from
even
one
though
correct,
you've lost the other one.
You know what I mean?
Just one.
I remember there was a time when I got a 6 out of 10. I remember how crazy I went.
Yeah.
And it was just 1-0s and 2-1s and 1-1s. And then once you get those right, you get the confidence to go on Super Bets and definitely start to make your bets. So now let's move on and let's go see what's happening. Now, Obi knows I've heard chats about Mbappe and Giroud.
It's bad. It's bad. And you see, that's why, you know, like, I don't know if it's because Benzema's now in the team, you know, now there's beefs now roaming around. Mbappe likes Benzema more than he likes me. But I'll let you know what happened, right? This is a report that we got from Get French Football News. And they say Kylian Mbappe was angry on Tuesday night following Olivier Giroud's comment that certain individuals, when passing to him frequently enough, he felt so attacked. This is Mbappe. He felt so attacked that he wanted to appear in a press conference to make a statement about the situation. So basically what happened during the game, you know, Mbappe had a chance to pass Giroud for him to score the goal, and Mbappe didn't. And what Giroud did, he went online and he posted about, you know, how he felt that, you know, the individuals who don't pass him the ball. And, you know, it made sense if you've seen what happened, you know what I'm saying? And then it happened that Giroud went out and said that, but didn't mention any names. And Mbappe felt like, oh, he's talking about me. And Mbappe, of course, reacted from that.
Why are you feeling guilty if it's not you? Because he didn't say that it was specifically Mbappe who did
but
this.
if the shoe fits.
No, but the shoe doesn't fit because he didn't say explicitly that there's someone in the team who's not passing him. Now, I watched that game, right? And I first have to say the biggest thing we have to address first, which is why Benzema got injured in the first place. And I remember watching that and I thought to myself, I was like, OB.KNOWS going to have me for this one. Because he's going to say, yeah, you see why they had to take Benzema, because Benzema's quality. Now, I watched the first 30 minutes of Benzema's game, right? And Benzema, he is a presence. He is a presence in that front line. But I felt that this team is not quite used to playing around. I mean, you're playing with a Griezmann and a Mbappe who don't really need a classic number 9. Who will just beat a player, take a shot. No. Not saying that you need not saying that you need a Giroud, but those are the kind of players that want to beat a player, make space, and take a shot, which is basically what happened in that game for the first 30 minutes. Now, where Benzema gets injured, this is what really floats my boat. Benzema doesn't get injured because he got tackled. He gets injured because the ball was floated in towards Griezmann. And Benzema started his run late and tried to head that ball ahead of Griezmann. So that's why I have a problem with Benzema. I mean, at this point, why
anything to discredit him?
But for me, why would you wanna go ahead of your player? I mean, that ball. First of all, he had to jump for it, OB.KNOWS, which means that the ball was floated in perfectly for Griezmann, and he jumped for it and he got the header wrong. But not only that, he injured himself in the process. Now, the saddest part of it is if that team, the whole strategy is built around a Benzema as a striker, they risk losing him for the whole tournament. Just because of just a second of selfish, I need this goal, and he got in there just before Griezmann. And Griezmann stood there waiting for this ball to come down, and then he comes between the player and the defender, and he got himself injured in the process. I'm not complaining about him as a player. Yes, I do understand France do need him for this tournament, but he injured himself, OB.KNOWS. He really did injure himself. Yeah, are we going to let that one go? Are we going to let the boat float and say...
Well, I feel like you should have let that boat float.
Okay, let me let it float.
Because now it's like you're just criticizing him because there's something that's wrong in his
All right, let's move on. But all I'm saying is after that, Giroud got a praise. Let's talk about, before we take this break, let's talk about Muller, OB.KNOWS.
Muller, once again, coming out to, what happened actually with the French national team, like egos everywhere. Mbappe feels like, like you said, I play for PSG, you play for Chelsea, all that type of stuff.
Plus you're on the bench.
You know what I'm saying? So a different mindset is what, Muller says Germany is all about. We're not all about the egos. And this is something he had to say to a newspaper. We can have that graphic up to show what actually Muller was saying at that newspaper. We'll actually find out a little bit more about how the German national team thinks. It's not only about, star play, it's about the team. And that's exactly what he says. The decisive factor is we not only have class, we have mentality. These players know how to win. They've proven it. We're not just anyone. We feel like we can bring it to the field. And this is part of what he was saying, during that conference. That conference he had is that, we have a lot of star players, but we play as a team. And that is why you see 4 stars on our badge, and you don't see any one of us getting a Ballon d'Or because we're all about the team, and that's how we move. And I feel like Muller did, touch it at the right. He struck a nerve, and I think that's what he usually does. And for me, that kind of tells me that Germany are on another different mentality.
They're on a different tip. They're on a different tip. I mean, any country that can go 10 years chasing a title and then actually get it after rebuilding from scratch after 2006, for me, mental beast. And we've looked at German sides, the last 3 Champions League titles, German coaches. We did mention that the Germans are on a different level. But if that's the case, then the last time that this went down with France, that was in 2010 World Cup in the Confederations Cup, where players were seen pitch side in practice fighting over each other, and then there was a lot of misunderstandings. But if we look at what happened in that one, they got knocked out in the group stages.
But it was one of the reasons why they got knocked out, because no one was on good terms.
Yeah, they weren't talking.
They were all on good terms, and especially with the coach as well at the time. So I think right now it's a different situation right now. It's just 2 players who are quarreling, but you don't know how deep it could go within the squad.
It could split the team in 2.
It could split the team in 2.
Now imagine if Kante loves Giroud so much that he gets pissed off. The tournament is gone. Let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll definitely be looking at what's happening elsewhere in international football.
You're locked into Super TV, only on OpenView, channel 150. Evolution Games present Football Studio. Join Izinja's game on Football Studio and leave Bafana. Watch us play Football Studio on Super TV channel 150 on OpenView, or SMS Super TV to 30978 and play it yourself.
Ibra, don't be such a nuisance. Just SMS Super TV to 30978 and join in on the action.
You are watching Super TV, Open View, channel 150.
Welcome back to Mo Sports Now. My name is Mo, this is OB.KNOWS, and we are talking all things international football at this moment in time. As you know, it is that period of the year when international trophies become the biggest matter to be handled. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's check out the Mo riddle one more time. Because OB.KNOWS, when it comes to topics like this, we know we want to talk and we want to solve these issues before we make our bets. Now, don't forget, the Mo riddle is that piece of trivia that tests your footballing knowledge. And today it reads as follows. This is an Argentine international who won gold with the Argentine side in 2004. Not only that, he went on to play for PSG, Real Madrid, Manchester United, and Roma. If you know who this is, the number you should save on your phone is 071-621-4746. Once you save that phone under context, go onto your WhatsApp and you can send us the answer to the Mo riddle. It's easier typing out the name and then clicking send. Now let's carry on with the conversation. If you're just joining us, you missed out on the whole chat about the Euros. We even talked a little bit about Bafana. We talked about the young talents that made a name for themselves in this fixture against Uganda. We talked about Evidence Mohopa's brace. We went on to talk about Ethan Brooks. We talked about Fisher as well. I mean, we were very excited to see a different look to Bafana than the look that we usually get that gets us into stress. People have hypertension afterwards. But this one, at least, we can go to work with a smile on our faces. Let's talk about the Copa America. Now, a lot of things happening in America. I heard that the USA won a tournament.
Yeah, the USA won a tournament. Was it a couple of days ago? Yeah, I feel like it was last week. Oh my lord!
That's this week.
Yeah, they won the Nations League, the CONCACAF Nations League. And of course, it was a big one for them. I mean, like I have been saying on my social media, that I had a conversation with one guy who said that Pulisic might win the Ballon d'Or before Mbappe, you know, and it's obviously been like, lingering in my mind. And every time I think about it, like Pulisic, okay, won the Champions League this season, you know, went on and won, you know, the Nations League, and what more could happen this season for him? You know, if anything does happen for him, then
I think Mbappe has to face the reality that he needs to go to an English side. I don't want to be that guy, but I was looking at the Euro coefficient for the ranking of the clubs in the Euros. According to UEFA, their ranking of the clubs, and according to Nations in terms of club football, they were saying that England is the top rank. They have 105 coefficient in terms of the performance on intercontinental trophies at this moment in time. And if you want to win a trophy like the Champions League, you go to where the iron is hot. And the iron is hot right now for English sides. I mean, you look at the last 2-3 Champions League fights, there's been an English side. If you extend it to the last 4, there's been an English side. So you definitely want to go to a place where there is English football available for you and you can play at the highest level of the game, not only in domestic leagues, but also for the Champions League. But let's go back to the Copa. They also kick off this weekend, OB.KNOWS, and what's going on? I'm very happy because Brazil is in action, Firmino's in action, Fabinho's in action. I feel like this is the only place where you look at it, there's not a lot of big names missing due to injury or COVID-19.
There's a lot that's going on. I mean, like we all focused on the Euros. We're not so focused on what's going on in America. And I do think that Copa America has a lot of talents. I mean, you can see with the graphic right behind us of the names that are part of this team, part of this tournament. And I do think that Brazil are going to be a very entertaining team. I mean, Argentina are the current hosts of this tournament. So I do think that it is Argentina and Uruguay sharing the tournament. So I do think that we might just see Argentina go for it. I mean, Messi it's probably his last Copa America and he hasn't won any. So it's going to be very interesting to see if he can actually come through with his Argentine side and do something. I mean, no, this is just to say that it's his last Copa America, and can he win it? To be honest, I don't know. Looking at the form that they're currently in, coming out of the World Cup qualifiers, I don't have a lot of hope for Argentina coming into this tournament. I do think they can do a lot more in terms of the way they defend, the way they play overall. There's something that just needs to change. I don't think they have my confidence or my vote in terms of going into this competition. I don't think they even stand a chance of winning it.
You don't think they have stand a chance of winning it?
Nah.
When OB.KNOWS says such things, I always think to myself that looking at what's happening in Europe, I mean, right now, like I said, Ronaldo, 175 appearances before the tournament kicks off, 107 goals already scored in terms of international internationals, and the highest, he holds the record for holding the most goals in 1 Euro. And looking at Messi in international scale, it's a whole different story we're looking at. And not only is he the GOAT for some people, but he is a GOAT that lacks international trophies. And if he doesn't get it, everybody will be holding that over his head for the rest of time. They'll say Ronaldo has a Nations League, he has a Euro, you know what I'm saying? So they will hold that against them. And looking at Portugal at this moment in time, they have one hell of a squad going into this tournament, and they could be one of the favorites. I know that France have a great squad, but Obi knows already talking about the cracks in the makeup. If players that can't get along, then everybody knows that a wounded animal. All you need to do is convince. I mean, now players will definitely go towards injuring Benzema, getting him out of the tournament, get Giroud more game time, and force them to pass Giroud. Because if they don't pass Giroud, then it becomes a thing of I didn't pass it, I won't pass you, and then that breaks the whole team apart. So if there's already politics in the team, that means a lot of teams will be looking at it, and a lot of coaches will be saying, go exploit that deficiency in the team. But looking at South America, some of the biggest names are going to be taking place in this tournament. Do you think Neymar is still a big influence on this Brazilian side, or have they looked elsewhere to your Fabinhos, your Ellisons? I mean, nobody knows. I mean,
no
Champions League title
I
yet.
think this is the same. This is a question you could have asked during the golden era of Brazil, like the era we know, the Ronaldinhos, the Kakas. You could literally just ask the same question and say, is Ronaldinho still the main guy at Brazil? I mean, we all know that he was the main guy in terms of creativity and doing all that thing. And in terms of the player that you want in your team, Ronaldinho is always that guy you want in your team. And I do think that Neymar is a bit more important than what Ronaldinho was to the Brazilian national team then, because he gives you a lot of goals and he wins you a lot of games. So I do think that Neymar is a very important figure in this team. And I think looking at the likes of Richarlison, Firmino, all these guys, not to say that they aren't big names themselves. They are in their own respect, but I feel like they all know that Neymar is a big part of the team. I mean, think about what happened when in the World Cup when they didn't have Neymar. They went on to lose 7-0, to Germany.
7-1, yeah.
7-1, and Thiago Silva was also not in that team.
He was there. I remember him crying.
Thiago Silva.
No, not Thiago Silva. Neymar was there crying.
Neymar was injured, my guy. You remember he had a back problem in that tournament.
Whether he was crying from the stands or on the pitch, he was crying.
So he's a very, very important player in this Brazilian side. I still think they look up to him. I mean, he's still in his prime ages. I don't think he's expired as yet. So I do think that in this Brazilian team, he really does, make up most of their attacking prowess and what they want to do as a team.
Because my biggest question now remains one thing. I mean, there's players like Coutinho who are once a big part of the side. I mean, you couldn't set a team without Coutinho and Neymar in it. And things have now changed. Gabriel Jesus also didn't have a great season. He did try to live up to his record. I mean, when he joined Man City, Aguero was all the hype. And everybody said once Aguero steps down, Jesus will be that person. But that has never come to fruition yet. And now they're going into another tournament, which they also need. Because looking at the history of this tournament, I mean, Argentina and Brazil have been dominating this tournament for a very long time. And looking at what's happening right now, Chile has been the one dominating in recent years. So they'll definitely be looking to get something into this tournament that will actually take them all the way. Now, looking at the groups, Brasilia, so these are the two groups of Brazil, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, and Venezuela in Group 1. So obviously, everybody's expecting Brazil to go through. Everybody's expecting Colombia to go through on a good day. Your Peru's, I mean, Venezuela as well. These are not just run-of-the-mill teams. Ecuador has also shocked us in previous Copa Americas. They've actually went all the way up to the semifinals. But do you not see this being a favorable group for Brazil?
I think it's a favorable group. I mean, I think any team that Brazil plays right now is a favorable team to play against. I think they are the team to beat. I mean, you look at their World Cup qualifiers, already you can see, I mean, they went 6 games and won all their games. So I do think that the only thing that we might be, not more likely to talk a lot about is Chile, because they are no more in that golden era. They're looking at also, like I'm literally just looking at where they just come from, which is, the World Cup qualifiers, and they're not performing. They're not even in the top teams to, qualify for the World Cup. So I think they're a struggling side. They're a bit aged right now. I mean, you look at their left back, Bozizio is about 36 years old. I think looking at just that and Bravo, they are out of their golden era, and I think it's very visible now for us to see. So I think Brazil remain the team to beat, and Argentina might just not fall too far from that. But Uruguay in there as well. Colombia coming in without James Rodriguez, so it's going to be a bit of a different Colombian side in terms of creativity. But I still do think they've got the good players in there. Luis Muriel is in there, Zapata's in there as well. So we might just see a lot of surprises in this tournament.
It's very key what you're saying, because I was looking at the Euros and there's a small gap between the oldest and the youngest side. And now the youngest side in the tournament is Spain, and they fielded players that are around 24.3 in age. And the older side. I'm not quite sure which team it is, but they are 29.5. So it's a very small gap. I mean, a 4-year gap that will say that this team is aged. I mean, 29 already in football. You've aged. You know, that's a team that's aged. But it's a very interesting thing because then how does it affect the team? Because we looked at the World Cup. We've looked at previous World Cups where we looked at a young side, like a German side that was just tearing through tournaments in the early 2010s. And when they got to the pivotal stages, they would always fall apart. And everybody was like, no, they're not quite there yet because they lacked experience. Same thing happened with Brazil. When they faced Germany and got beat 7-1, everybody was saying that Neymar, Coutinho, those players that were considered to be young players. I mean, still had Fred up front being an experienced striker, which was at the time we were like, no, they're still a young side. So looking at how Chile has aged, they've gone through their golden era. But not only that, their golden era is achieved. They've been able to win 2 Copas, in succession. So they've been able to achieve with that. So they can let this one go. But their group looks like this: Argentina, Bolivia, Chile, Paraguay, and Uruguay. Now, we haven't spoken about Uruguay, and I think that we should be a little bit concerned. Looking at what Suarez was able to do for Atletico Madrid and what Cavani was able to do for Manchester United, these are two players and sides that we cannot, overlook.
Yeah, we can't overlook Uruguay. I mean, we really can't. We haven't actually overlooked them over the years when it comes to this competition, especially in the Copa America. You know, I think they are a very important side in this competition. I think if anything, we remember Uruguay because of the FIFA World Cup 2010. I mean, we all know what Uruguay did to South Africa. You know, so I think since then there's a lot of eye that's been placed on Uruguay, especially from a lot of South Africans. But I think they have a very good side in this tournament. But in terms of going all the way to win it, I think the front two is very great. But the overall team, I don't think they're really up for it, or they match either Argentina or Brazil. I don't think they match up to that in terms of quality. But I do think they're still a team to be reckoned with.
All right, so let's go through some of the transfers that have already happened now, the moves that have already been confirmed. The biggest one was Gini Wijnaldum. Where will he go? Will it be Barcelona, Bayern Munich, or PSG? And finally, PSG said, we'll double the wages, come over here. And he was like, look, a chance to play behind Neymar. And look, I mean, a box-to-box midfielder like Gini Wijnaldum would make a great addition to that side, especially a team that has lost out on the likes of Rabiot and have been playing with Verratti for the past season. And then Sancho has agreed personal terms with Manchester United, but would like the move to happen or not to happen, Obino?
I would like for it to happen.
Would you like it to happen?
I really do. I want to see why is Man United so pressed to sign Jadon Sancho. I mean, they had the chance to sign him last season. They didn't, right? And same thing happened with Bruno Fernandes. The transfer window prior, they couldn't sign him, but when they signed him, then you saw why they wanted to sign him.
Yeah.
So I would really like to see the same thing from Jadon Sancho. I'm not a Man United fan, you know that, but I would really like to see, what is this English media been raving about so much? Can he actually perform? And also, big point, is Pep Guardiola wrong for not trying to bring him back to Manchester City? I think he will have a lot of questions to answer.
No, I don't think he's wrong. I mean, look at, okay, let's move on from that. But looking at the English national side, they go into this tournament with 23 of the 26 players that they're bringing in, all coming from the Premier League. So Sancho goes there. That means now it's going to go from 23 to 24, which means that only Trippier and somebody else are not from the English league, which is weird because you look at your Spains, people are coming from around the world. You look at in South America with this tournament, players are coming from around the world, bringing different experiences, different perspectives of football into one team, and that's what makes some of these great teams so great. But let's move on. Man United also want to extend Pogba's stay, which is quite obvious. I mean, Pogba right now, he's on form. He's a bit on form. He's coming back to that Pogba that we all fear.
He's been good. I mean, I think he's just being forced in this team. Like I've been saying, like I feel like he's been forced to fit into this team because all he wants to play with Fred. Like he doesn't care. He wants Fred in this team.
Fred has to be.
He wants McTominay in this team, and somehow he wants to add Pogba in that double pivot. He sees it fit to add Pogba on the right wing, on the left wing rather. So I don't know if he has an exact plan of how he's going to deal with Pogba come next season, because I'd really like to see Pogba in a more midfield position. I mean, yes, he's trying to get him to do more attacking work, but I think Pogba is a much more deeper player who can create from deep, but he can also give you something going forward, So I'd like to see him being fitted more into this team if they are trying to extend his contract, but just let him go, man.
I feel like you should extend that contract. I mean, Pogba is the most dangerous player I know when it comes to unlocking defenses from deep. We saw it at Juventus. I mean, the Pogba that we saw at Juventus, the Pogba we saw at Man United, he has not lived up to that potential. I mean, at Juventus, with that free roam in midfield, with that Thomas Muller freedom in that midfield, he was able to do great things. Let's take a break. Okay. When we come back, I promise we will continue the conversation.
You are watching Super TV, Open View, channel 150.
Got something to say? Chat to us live on air via our WhatsApp line. WhatsApp us on 071 621 4746. Practice makes perfect, according to the Super TV team.
You know that if you get this, you know.
Yes, if you get this bill, like 10,000.
Okay, here's my logic. I love my TV.
So, SMS Super TV to 30978 and join us for some football fun. Don't miss Football Studio every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. only on Super TV, OpenView, channel 150. You're locked into Super TV, only on OpenView, channel 150.
Welcome back to Mo Sports. Now you're joining us right in time to continue the conversation of what's happening in international football. But now for a second, we need to take it away from international football and bring it to a more local matter. Not local as in the context of the country, but local in the context of club football. Welcome back to Mo Sports. My name is Mo. I'm joined by OB.KNOWS, our sports analyst, as we look at what's happening in and around world football. Now let me give you the little trivia that's called Mo. Is it Mo analysis or Mo riddle? Well, if you're joining us for the first time, it's Mo riddle for you. Now, this is what it has to say. It says, I'm an Argentine international who won gold in 2004 in the Olympics with the Argentine national side. I played for Roma, Real Madrid, Manchester United, and Paris Saint-Germain. If you know who I am, just take out your phone, save the following number. It's 071-621-4746, and you can send me the answer on WhatsApp, and let's see just how well you know your football. Now let's carry on the conversation. If you're just joining us, we did talk a little bit about Bafana. We moved on to the Euros, and we talked about the Copa America. OB.KNOWS expressing that Brazil looking like the favorites coming into this tournament. I mean, looking at the vast experience, not only in the team, the 11-a-side team, but on the squad overall. I mean, you're looking at big names coming back home to come play the tournament in Argentina. And looking at Argentina themselves, Messi might be featuring in his last tournament, so he has to make this one count. And I posed the question like anyone would. What about that Cavani Suarez combo? And you were saying, look, I mean, we hear the combo, but what about the rest of the team? It also has to live up to that level of quality. But let's move on. Let's talk about what's happening in and around club football, European club football, and more specifically now. Spurs are looking for a manager. They manager shopping once again after they let go of Jose Mourinho. I heard something funny where Jose Mourinho was saying that I've won 24 and a half trophies. And the half is that final I didn't play with with Tottenham Hotspurs. But Tottenham Hotspurs are looking at a man who knows that they want to replace. I mean, they want to get at the helm. Who is this man and what are his numbers saying?
Paulo Fonseca. And he was the former coach of Roma, Shakhtar, Braga, and Porto. So these aren't the teams that he coached only. There's a couple of teams in between. He's staying between Porto and Braga. But this is how he's looking currently. You know, 101 games at Roma, 53 wins, 20 losses, 28 losses and 20 draws. And at Shakhtar, 139 games, 104 wins, 17 draws, 18 defeats. And at Braga, he had 57 games, 30 wins, 14 draws, and 13 losses. And at Porto, where he looks like he spent only a season, he had 37 games, 21 wins, 9 draws, and 7 assists. And this is an individual who's won a whole lot of trophies, right? But once he stepped up the game and coached in the Serie A, coaching Roma, he didn't look so convincing. I mean, you look at where Roma finished this season. It finished outside, you know, of the Champions League spots. If I'm not mistaken, they are in the Europa League spots rather, and that's obviously a tournament that Jose Mourinho will feel like, okay, I can go through and win this one. But sticking on Paulo Fonseca, I think. Do you remember there was a manager who wore a Zorro attire after a game in a press conference? Paulo Fonseca was that man. He was still the coach of Shakhtar. Had a very successful stick at Shakhtar. And I do think that, you know, a lot of people, what they're saying is that this move for Tottenham Hotspurs just kind of shows a lack of ambition from the club, simply because of his stint at Roma. And I kind of do understand where they're going with it. You know, I mean, looking at Tottenham Hotspurs, looking at the squad they have, you really need someone who can be able to, make something out of, players. And that's one thing that I don't think Paulo Fonseca did while he was at Rome. I mean, he had a decent squad. Could have done slightly better with it. I mean, with Pedro, in that squad as well, Mkhitaryan in there as well, Zaniolo in there. I don't think he managed to get the best out of those players. And I think that's the biggest concern for the Spurs fans.
All right, our biggest concern at this moment on Mo Sports is that we need to make our bets before our time is up. We only have a minute, so we're going to do a quick multi-bet slip. Let's go see it. OB knows on the website we are going. Don't forget, for you to access the website, all you need to do is SMS Super TV to 30978. Now let's scroll down. Wait, OB knows it says log in. You see, everywhere you go, it says log in to play. This is, wow, it's a whole different world here on SuperBet.co today. When you haven't been there for a day, you come back, there's new advantages and new discoveries. Let's go back, OB knows. Let's go quickly to the internationals. Is that already a slip that's open?
But now this is...
That's the winner. No,
Vala.
Vala the winner, Vala the winner.
Let's start again.
Okay, let's go. No, Euro 21, you're at the right place. Yeah. Let's go to tournament specials. Let's go see what's that. Wait, elimination. Oh, this is going to take all day. Let's just go to games quickly because this one is going to take us forever to put together.
So you don't think you know it's going to be eliminated?
I think I know, but... Wait a minute, we'll do that tomorrow when we have enough time on our hands. Right. So Turkey, Italy, can I please give it to Italy? Because I was reading about them in more depth and they were saying that there's a team that actually wants to bring back the glory days. And I know they don't have a lot of big names. They don't even have an identity that right now people can look to. But I don't think Turkey comes into the first game of the tournament and just becomes the best team in the tournament. So let's give it to Italy, OB knows. Let's see what happens there. I'm sure. Let's put it on the 50 cents there, OB knows. Let's put on the 50 cents.
Sure, my guy. You want to go against Burak
Chanel yeah.
Shingis Unda.
As long as they don't give away free kicks, then they're nice. Just press. Okay, you want to give it to
I want to give it to Turkey. Look,
all right, give it to
all
Turkey.
All due respect to Italy. Italy have not lost a game under.
But Italy
Mancini.
also, they can't even say that. They're going on 27 games. 25? 27, 28.
They're going to 28.
27 games unbeaten. This will be their 28th. So now Wales and Switzerland. Quick.
It's a draw, this one.
There's a couple of seconds left of the show. Let's let OB knows finish this off while I give you the answer to the Mo riddle. Now, Argentine player played for Manchester United, PSG, Roma, and Real Madrid. I think it can only be one man, and that man's name is this bro. Look at him. Gabriel Heinze. This man
I wonder where you got that surname.
Heinze, from the source, because he had the source.
Yeah, but that's German.
I remember he came to South Africa for the 2010 World Cup. Gabriel Heinze.
That's the kid, actually.
Yeah, that was the kid from the 2010.
Actually had that shirt.
There's the Bafana, the 2010 World Cup logo.
Actually had that shirt.
Yeah, but what a legend Gabriel Heinze was. What a defender he was as well. I mean, that was back when defenders were still traditional defenders and not expected to play out from the back. But yeah, very good time in world football. But thank you for joining us here on Mo Sports. I mean, it's been a very interesting journey and it's only just begun. It's the 11th of June, meaning that till the 11th of July, we're going to be checking out what's happening in the Euros, the Copa America, and everything come international tournaments. A very exciting time to be alive. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you again from tomorrow. Tomorrow from 1 to 2 p.m.
You are watching Super TV, Open View, channel 150.